I know this is not everyone's cup of tea, but boy does it look good. Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. So yeah, it's built and it was really enjoyable. This is the T3-01 Trike chassis, if you're not aware of it. And as I said, just a lot of fun to put together. So I was basically having a couple of days off, and I didn't really fancy doing sort of a bigger build, and I knew I had this to do. So I kind of sort of brought the box upstairs, and I started it sort of half-heartedly. But as I started to put it together, because it was so new to me, the enjoyment and the fun factor just came straight into it. And because every piece of it, because I've never built one of these chassis before, every part of it was new. So it was a real pleasure to put together. So anyway, let's get into what the kit is itself. So this is the second of the Trike chassis. The first one, let me get these part numbers correct. The first one was called a Dancing Rider, and it was on 57405, and that came out in 2017. Now at the time I was never really interested in that. I don't know if it was the looks of it or whatever, but I just didn't have any interest to it. However, when this one came out, now let me get this, so obviously this is a Dual Rider. This came out on 57407 in 2019. Again, I'm not too sure what the reason is, whether it's the shape of the body set, the colour, but I thought, yeah, I could have one of those, and then obviously eventually I pulled the trigger and bought one. So again, for me, I'll put that picture of them both together. The 2019 version is, for me personally, just looks way better, but there's nothing wrong with the first one, don't get me wrong. Anyway, let's get into the build. So the first stage of the build is the gearbox. Now, as you can imagine, this is a very cheap kit. So there's, I was going to say not a lot of metal, but I think apart from the screws, there isn't any metal. So the standard gearbox and the diff is all plastic gears, and it's really shrunk down. Again, as I said, it's fun to put together. So you build the diff up and put the grease in, supplied, two gearbox housings together. It's all relatively straightforward. It's just on a smaller scale. By the time I got the gearbox built up, I sort of had a play with it, and yeah, I've got to be honest, it felt kind of smooth enough. The diff was a little bit tight, but I did put quite a bit of the grease in there. Whether I've put too much, I'm not sure. But as I say, it went together really well. And then it was on to putting the chassis together. Now, obviously it's a trike sort of stroke motorbike, so this is a bit I found really interesting because I didn't really know what to expect with the chassis pieces. But as you can see, I'm showing you how it goes together. All sort of bolts together, and it's all kind of hollow down the middle. At the same time of doing this, that's when we attached the rear gearbox. There's only one. We attached the gearbox to the chassis. I think up to that stage it had taken me about 40 minutes. Next up was the front fork section. Now it's friction shock, so I believe there's a ton of hop-ups you can buy for these, but these are just sort of spring-loaded forks. Again, two screws go up with some little springs, holds the whole unit together. The mudguard at the bottom kind of strengthens it up. But once I'd got it all together, I'd realised I made a big mistake. What I should have said at the beginning of this video, I didn't plan to put any electrics in it. I was just doing a quick build. You know, you can't really build this thing without a steering servo in there. Didn't think of that at the time. So once I got it all finished, it was kind of flopping around. There was nothing to keep it upright, which was a bit of a stupid mistake on my part. So obviously to put that right, I had to backtrack, dig all the steering system out basically. There's like a holder that goes over the servo. You can use a standard servo as well, it doesn't have to be a low profile one. And then there's a fancy servo saver arrangement, and then a big arm drops all the way down onto where the gearbox rocks on it. It's pretty cool because as I say, I'd never put one together before, so I was really intrigued to see how the steering worked. And then it was the fun part, which is always the fun part for me, which was the body set. Again, very intrigued to how this was done, given the kind of shape and the mould of it. So first stage, cut the body out. The holes are pre-drilled in it, so I sat it on the chassis just to see how it looked. Obviously, as you can see by the box, it's red in box art, but I decided to go for PS17, which is Top Force metallic green. Don't know why I went for that, I just fancied it, and I've got to be honest, at the end of this, I think what I've done to this is way better than box art. What did we do? So the body set. Oh, and at the same time, I decided to paint a few extra bits. I thought the front mudguard had to be colour coded, to be honest. So that was quite a big thing I wanted to sort of get done. And of course the wheels, because they're black in the kit. And I thought we'll use that PS. I think it's PS48. It's got that like an aluminium finish to it. We'll bodge some tyre decals on it, and yeah, I was really happy with that. And then I thought the driver figure has to kind of be in your face against the PS17. So as you can see, I went for like an orange t-shirt. There's a lot of flesh on the arms and stuff. I went for bright yellow helmet. Didn't want to go with the full face helmet or the sort of motocross one with the top visor that sticks out. I thought we'll keep it pretty basic and with yellow hands, but we'll keep it kind of in your face. And I wasn't too sure until I put it in on the chassis with the green body shell over it, but I thought, yeah, that really works, to be honest. And then obviously it was just a case of putting it all together and seeing what it would look like, and I knew at that stage the PS17 was 100% the right colour I've used. And then the decals might not look like there's a lot that goes onto here, but there is. It's quite time consuming. I don't know if I said earlier, it's got two colours. You paint the back of the canopy black, and then there's decals to kind of, you've got to make sure your lines are crisp, but at the bottom of it there's decals that you add to it that bring it round the chassis, and that's kind of the first stage of a decaling, is to put all these sort of black sections on. And you guys know how this is. Every decal you put onto the body, it just gets better and better. And again, I think the colours I use, because it gives you a few different options of small decals that can be white and silver or black even. And I went with silver on a couple of them. But by the time I had the shell with all the decals on, I was like, yeah, that works. So at this point, obviously it was finished, and I was really happy with it, I've got to be honest. But I did what I always do. I sort of took it through and sort of took it everywhere I went after I built it, just to stare at it and see if it needed any changes. And I thought to myself, I can definitely make that better by adding a bit more paint to it. So I decided in what I'm doing next morning, I'd strip it down again, and I wanted to take the forks off because I thought I could add a lot more detail into the forks. Enhance that front mudguard, do more work on the driver figure, and then just paint up some sort of extra parts. So the next day I got cracking. As I say, I stripped it down. Now the forks were important because when I was looking at it, I thought the top of the fork bodies has to be in that like the aluminium silver. Obviously I couldn't paint the centre section because that's where it moves and that paint would just come off, but I thought I was loving the front mudguard. And I thought if we do the bottom of the forks in PS17 as well, it's just going to make it look bigger. Really happy with that. I tried to put like a radiator on the bottom of the chassis. We added that Tamiya decal. The radiator, it works really well, but you can hardly see it. But I kind of know it's there. So if you look for it, it looks cool. But probably if I didn't tell you I'd done that, you wouldn't see it. I put all the extra detailing on the driver. You get little stickers. Once it's in place, you get stickers to put over the holes of the screws and then paint them over. So I did all that. I did a few more decals, but I was just really happy with it. So yeah, that was pretty much that section finished. And by the time I had it finished, I was like, that is way better than it looks in the kit, in my opinion. Right, let's drag the Trike over and give you a close-up of it. And there it is. What do you think, my friends? Please stick in the comments what you think, if you like it or you don't like it. Couple of decals lifting up front, which I need to do a little bit of work on. Just there you can see the suspension, the front suspension working. Yeah, I just love it. I just think it's better than what I thought it was going to be, I've got to be honest. And I think the PS17 is just a perfect colour. Obviously now we've got this back section, the bar, the battery, well, the body stay posts, all colour coded, and then this front end, which definitely works for me. I just think without that silver and green at the bottom, it was kind of lacking. And then from that side, give it a little bit of steering angle. Very clever how this works, to be honest. Very clever. As I say, this was totally new to me. I had no idea how it went together. But Yeah, I just think that looks absolutely superb. So what I just did was I just took it outside to in the blue sky just to get this metallic paint popping in the sunlight, and I think, as you can see from those pictures, it really does come alive. So that's basically it. Unfortunately, I can't run it just yet. Now, I bought this kit ages ago, and I do remember looking at the battery situation for it. You can buy a little small 2S for it, but I believe some kits, mainly the Japan kits, they come with a battery box that you build in the kit, and you can run it on 4 AA batteries. I kind of assumed maybe mine would have that. I never looked, but anyway, when I built it, I realised it didn't. Now, I can buy that battery box for about a tenner, but I've also heard that if you use the AA batteries, the like standard Tamiya Speed over TBLA or 2S, it cuts out apparently. So I'll probably be better getting a 2S for it at some point. But yeah, I'll definitely will run it, but there's a little bit of a cost to it. And more than the cost, I've got to sort of do my research and figure out what I actually need. I might want to get a faster, like a sport, you can get a small sports tune motor for them and things like that. So when I'm doing it, I might want to kind of have a look at all that. But I would imagine these things to be absolutely great fun running them. I've seen the Tamiya videos of them racing around, and it looks fantastic. They're not made to be quick. I think using the standard motors is good enough, and it's just that fun factor, racing against others. So again, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. Have I improved on the box art version? Obviously I'm very biased, but I think I have. Such a dinky little thing. I love it. I really do. It's fantastic. It's funny, I'm just looking at it now and I'm wondering, because the kits are so cheap, maybe I want to get hold of the original one from 2017 and do a second one, so I've got both those chassis. And because it's a cool little project. When I started this, I didn't know I was going to do all these extra bits to it. That just sort of happened through the build process. But now I've done that, I'm just, as I'm making this video, I'm wondering, could maybe do that on the 2017 model and see if we can sort of improve that, maybe choose a different colour, paint some extra parts up and what have you, and put them both together. Because collection wise, because these are so small, for the room it'd take to put a 4-wheel drive buggy there, you could actually fit both these trikes in together. So that might be pretty cool. In fact, you know what, I think I've just talked myself into doing that. I'm going to have a look on eBay now, see what's about. So I'll end this video here. Again, if you've got one of these and you made modifications, leave it in the comments, because as always, it's always a pleasure reading what you guys do. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching. It's massively appreciated. If you are new to this channel, if you could please consider liking and subscribing to support us. And if you do that, smash that notification bell for our weekly videos. And as always, my friends, happy RCing.